Me and Zoya watched the first episode of Tiny House, and that's what we'll be talking about in great detail today. Zoya, have you ever thought about... I'm going to say it, and I'm going to hate it.
Okay.
But I have to say it.
Okay, say it.
Zoe, have you ever given any thought to going tiny?
Yes, but not after what I watched.
I actually have a great admiration for people who have gone tiny in an attempt to save the planet or want not, have not, want not,
need not,
will not, want not.
Do not.
I think it's a cool thing to do if you could do it, you know? And I think that it's a worthwhile thing. You get a lot of bang for your buck, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then there are people who shouldn't do it. I'm in the, if you're going to ask me what I feel like.
What do you feel like? Would you go tiny, Mike?
Thank you for asking me that question. I would never do that because I work so goddamn hard for essentially more space.
Yes.
Either the amount of money in our bank account will give us more space to breathe emotionally, or expand our family, or expand physically into different rooms where we could put things that we absolutely need.
Yes.
I'm going to be in a tiny house for so much longer than I'm going to be in a regular house. I'm talking about a coffin. And for those of you who couldn't hear real well, I said a coffin. Coffin's the ultimate tiny house. You know what I mean? Anyway, so we watched this fucking season 1, episode 1 of Tiny House, and we were, of course, introduced to Ben and Rebecca with an H. And not to be too judgy right off the bat, but strike one for me. Zoe?
Yes.
Any thoughts?
Ben.
Singer-songwriter Ben moves from LA to Nashville in a tiny house with Rebecca with an H and their family, which I believe is two little girls.
Which I understand, and I get the concept of having a tiny house and, you know, wanting to downsize and not have so much and live, you know, being a minimalist.
In a coffin with a sink.
In a bathroom.
In a bathroom. Living in a bathroom. Coffin. With a bed. Fall down bed. So you get the need or want to move across the country, maybe have some of your own land.
Sure.
And live in the smallest possible house with the ones you love.
Sure. But being a singer-songwriter and her being a fashion designer, no?
Yes. She wants to get back into fashion designing.
In a tiny house?
In a tiny place. Also, get an office. You know how you could keep your house real tiny by not keeping any of your work stuff in it.
Yeah.
Get a tiny office. How about a WeWork?
There you go.
Rent
that
a
would
tiny
work.
space in a WeWork and live there with your fold-out sink. They keep, and here's my biggest gripe of the whole series. They keep calling it going tiny. Nobody knows we're going tiny.
Why would your family not know that you're going tiny?
And that's the other thing is like they're keeping it. The producers were like, make it a reveal.
Yeah.
You have to explain to your family that you're changing your whole lifestyle, and they make it sound like a coming out.
Yeah.
You're not gay.
No.
No one is persecuting you for having a smaller house.
Yeah.
No one cares.
No.
And now I'm kind of flashing back to Love is Blind, where the 34-year-old's dating the 24-year-old, like anyone gives a fuck about that.
Yeah, no.
Not to dwell on that. But also, if you are moving into a tiny house, rest assured, No one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
No one cares. Even if a producer pays them to. And they're talking it up like it's a huge deal. And guess what? It's not. This one says, everyone is too excited and the host scares the kid. And this is a problem when you are, when you're in a house.
Yes.
Or when you're the host of a TV show that's not super exciting.
Right.
You need to compensate with your own being excited. And that really doesn't work real well because you'll scare kids.
Yeah.
You've scared the kids.
You've scared the kids, and now it's your job to win them back because you're going to be in their space creating it.
And they show the family the plans for the tiny house. And God, I love that there's a weed whacker outside. Right. Of all times, we've tried to start this podcast 3 times. And the first time we were called into an emergency meeting that was immediately called off because the landlord forgot that we're not supposed to have emergency meetings because we're supposed to be socially distancing from one another. Social distancing. And then the second time got called off because we weren't quite ready. And now the third time we're fighting through a weed whacker. So I apologize if that's annoying for anybody else.
I don't think they can hear it.
God, I hope not. And these microphones will be well worth the money if you can't. But it does seem like they're coming closer to our apartment.
They are. I feel like they're going to be walking right by us. But we can't see them because we're kind of elevated from the first floor.
I mean, that you could definitely hear. I could see in the microphone that it's definitely coming through. So maybe we should just bullshit until they're gone.
Bullshit.
No, we got to push through because that's terrible.
Okay,
I wouldn't be able to listen to that.
Okay, let's go.
They show the family the plans for the tiny house. And they keep saying that it's big for a tiny house. And then the host says something to the effect of, it's a jumbo shrimp is still a shrimp. First of all, bad joke. Second of all, it's like you're trying to remind them. The show is called Tiny House. No one's going to get confused that you're accidentally building them a regular sized house.
Yeah.
No one's going to be like halfway through the project, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
This
oh my
is
God,
way
this is a
bigger.
house. Oh my God.
These people are essentially moving into a Monopoly hotel. Game piece. Okay. Designer wife, or Rebecca with an H, is shamed for having 4 sewing machines. Rebecca with an H has 4 sewing machines. Zoe, I know this isn't great exercise for the podcast, but show me with your hands. What is the average sewing machine that you've seen? About how big?
It's probably about 1.5 feet, if not 2 feet.
That's the biggest sewing machine I've ever seen. That's like 3 feet.
No, this is about 2 feet.
Zoe, this is a foot.
Yeah, so we got about 2 feet.
I've seen sewing machines about 1.5 feet.
Yeah, sure.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Because with your hands, that was like a yard. That was one cubic meter. So what I'm trying to say is not a lot of space, but maybe 4 of them is a little overkill. Why do you need 4 sewing machines? Rebecca has 4 sewing machines, and I say that to say this. Later on in the episode, the musician, we know this from little flash forwards that they do. Mm-hmm. Like after the break, we're going to have yada yada.
Yeah.
There's a baby grand piano.
Which is not so baby.
You want to talk about the wow fact, like the surprise factor to your show? It's not grabbing your mother-in-law and coming out to your mother-in-law and saying, we live in a tiny house now. Our lives are different. Please respect our choices. It's the fact that you are stuffing a baby grand piano into a tiny house with your not so tiny family.
That it has to be there. Though.
It has to be there.
It has to be. You guys
can't
have
learn
to figure
guitar.
out.
You can't buy a keyboard that plugs into a computer.
Oh, no, he's got guitars too.
Oh, yeah. But the bitch can't have 4 sewing machines.
Right.
Get out of my face.
Right.
And we move on. Well, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
This next note says, you could change your lifestyle and move into a tiny house. with your whole family, but you can't use a keyboard.
Yep.
And he does have a keyboard.
Yep. It's for when he doesn't want to be on the piano.
Being a musician and having a family is already hard.
Yeah.
And you're asking whatever your mate does, you're asking them to make a lot of choices
Oh, yeah.
and a lot of concessions
Yes.
to the point where you're like, maybe we should move into a tiny house in Nashville, away from LA, away from all this craziness.
Right.
But there's a couple things, baby girl. I'm the musician now talking to you.
Yeah.
Do you have any dreams and aspirations?
I would love to live in a tiny house with you.
That's your dream? Well, I got news for you. I have a dream too, and that's not only to live in a tiny house with our not so tiny family and to piss off our mother-in-law, but also I need to have a baby grand piano
And I need 4
and a
sewing
keyboard.
machines.
I'm not done. And a guitar.
And I need
And what do you want?
a bedroom for our kids
No.
and 4 sewing machines.
No. See, that's kind of the point. If I'm going to come to you and say, Zoe, we need to live in a coffin with a sink, a fold out sink.
Okay.
And I need a piano in there. What's the next thing that you say?
I smack you across the face. That's no words.
You mean we don't go on TV?
No.
Okay.
And tell you to wake the fuck up.
So they move across the country and they have one of those pods or shipping containers with all their shit in it.
Shipping what?
Shipping containers.
You said containers.
This is how I talk.
Okay, that's fine.
Are you going to have a problem with that?
Well,
Because I'm bringing my voice to the tiny
we
house.
might have to social distance in this house.
You told me it didn't count when it was you and I.
Don't use my words against me.
So the shipping container follows them from Los Angeles, California. And it looks like they packed it to make sure everything breaks.
When they revealed that, when they opened it up, I gasped because everything was broken in there.
Dude, it looked like they just threw everything as fast and as hard as... It looked like the show was like, we'll pay for your shipping container as long as you throw everything as hard as you can in it.
And then when they opened it up, the hosts both were like, "What in the hell did you guys do? Like, there's no way that all of this stuff is going to fit in here."
Yeah. Do you remember what they said next? Because I know we haven't read these notes for a couple days, but they said something very, very specific next, as it pertained to their specific needs in this house. And then you said, we'll have a little mid-podcast game.
Okay.
Called What Did Zoya Say?
Okay.
What did Zoya say? That was probably too loud. I apologize
That's
for
okay.
that. What did Zoya say after Ben and Rebecca with an H said, I want as much storage space as possible?
In a tiny house?
Is that what you think you said?
Is that what I said?
You said, I hate them.
That was gonna be my next thing.
Holy fuck. So Rebecca, and in my notes, I wrote Rebecca without an H in defiance. Rebecca wants to get back into design. Here's where we start talking about how sometimes there's 2 members of a relationship and they both have aspirations.
No.
Rebecca, sometimes the women are allowed to dream.
Maybe once in a while, right?
Rebecca wants to get back into design, and I have a little ancillary note here that says probably because Ben's a musician, and we haven't heard of Ben. Oh, fuck. So, to give credit where credit is due, I have a note here that says it's actually a beautiful thing. The tiny house, the reason behind the tiny house, the tiny house where you keep your ass.
Yeah, in your ass.
The craftsmanship and the planned efficiency is actually a beautiful thing and
Yeah.
worth watching the show.
Yeah.
But a box can be ruined by the shit you put inside of
A
it.
shipping container could be ruined.
Put a couch in a shipping container and you already have it.
A
you
tiny
have
house. Right.
it. Zoe, your thoughts?
I
think a beautiful thing is being ruined by the things that are being put into it.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm trying to desperately see what you think, so I have time to catch up on my notes that I took a week ago.
I think that I do think when they were done with everything, it did actually look unbelievably beautiful.
Yeah.
And the craftsmanship is totally correct in that. And then them trying to figure out how to give them enough storage space.
Yeah.
That was also interesting.
Or any storage space, because they live in a pod. They live in a storage space.
In an extra large pod.
Move everything you have in your apartment or your house into your closet. And that's where these people live. So the host is going through their shipping container and having a terrible time. Multiple hats.
All the hats. Why all of the hats? She had hats. He had hats.
Yeah, if you're trying to pare down your life, start with the hats. How many, let's say that, little exercise. How many hats could you comfortably wear at once?
One.
There you go. So the host is having a terrible time going through multiple hats and broken things. And I've seen way more toys for the parents than for the kids. Also, forgot that they had kids at this point because so far, none of the focus has been on the kids. Zoya's getting fired up.
No, because when you have kids, first of all, you have to keep them entertained. Secondly,
Not just screen time. Where, iPad takes up so little space, but it will ruin your kids.
yeah, it is amazing that all of their crap was the only things that were in there, and then they were told to downsize and get rid of anything that they absolutely did not need.
Yeah.
And they had an attitude about it.
And they still had so many hats after they were
all
told that.
the hats.
I don't like how many hats they have.
I think every single person that was on and running the show had one of their hats on.
They could have, and there still would have been more left in the
Yes.
storage bin. All
That's
the PAs, all the key grips have hats on.
And that's
Fucking
why they
hipster
need
hats. They will fit in perfectly in coming from LA to Nashville. Though.
Yes. That's
if you
why
have
they
a
need-
goddamn Pharrell hat and you're not eating a quiche, you ain't worth a shit.
And that's why they need extra storage space for their hats.
The host tells Ben and Rebecca, capital H in my notes here, that he's flying their mother in, which is 100% a choice made by a producer who doesn't think having a show about tiny houses is enough.
Now he's got to put them on blast.
Now they got to gamify this by saying we got to win the approval of our mother, who in reality probably doesn't give a fuck about our choice to move into a tiny house, other than the fact that our two girls will have zero privacy growing up in the most formative years in their life.
Well, neither will they. But keep going. We'll get there.
They've had two kids. What more privacy do they need?
Their own bedroom so that they can sleep and not sleep. Keep going. 'Cause
These people
we'll
fuck
talk about
twice. These creative professionals fuck twice, and you know they did it with hats on. I'll give you money if we can go back and what?
After a hat party.
If we can put your keys in the hat. If we could go back and interview these people, I'd put money on them fucking with hats on.
Yeah.
The hosts, who are also I want to call them construction crew,
Yeah.
creators of this tiny
Sure.
space. They put in a fashion elevator, which is, they have like a couch, but then the couch,
It's their bed.
it's their bed.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have a bed, picture a bed, you got it.
Yeah.
Let's actually take a time out to check in and see if I have any dates coming up. Everything is postponed. So they have this bed that they made into this platform out of wood that goes up like a little elevator.
Hang on, no.
Yeah, go ahead.
So under the bed, is where they are able to store one of the 4 sewing machines.
1/4 of her dream is under this bed.
So that when she wants to work on something, they give her a workspace, right? So the bed folds up into the wall. Okay. It folds up. And then she has like a little bench. And then she has the elevator.
A wet bench.
And then they give her a working elevator that holds a tiny mannequin, like a body mannequin, and her very few sewing materials and stuff that she needs for
plans, a light,
said
sewing
fashion
machine.
design.
Yeah.
Yes.
All these things. Thank you, Zoya.
You're welcome.
When they're building the bench outside, or when they're building the elevator outside, techno music and yelling can't make a wooden elevator exciting.
No.
It's functional as fuck.
Sure.
But they do this whole thing where there's a camera movement and the hosts are making sure it works, making sure it's a wooden elevator that goes 1.5 feet up works, pumping techno music as an editing choice, and the host screaming,
Yeah.
"Look at it go!" Both of those things cannot make this exciting.
No.
It's not an exciting thing.
No.
But they're trying. They're swinging
trying
for the
so
fences.
hard. Yeah. They are literally like, please make the show as interesting as possible with this fashion designer and musician.
Uh-oh, Zoe.
Michael. Who's there?
It's Rebecca's mom,
Oh, no.
who has been flown in by a producer who's second guessing whether or not the show is exciting.
What are we doing here?
Rebecca's mom comes, thus commencing the huge coming out party. Look at us in our while you could see us outside before we go into our tiny house.
Look at us, Mom. We moved across the country away from you and took the kids so that you can't see them. But look what we're moving into. Ooh.
You hit the camera. Dude,
My
this
bad.
is how our life would be if we were in a tiny house.
Yes.
You would always be hitting a camera.
Yeah.
Mom isn't super jazzed about it. Do you remember anything about Mom?
Mom was thoroughly disappointed and could not picture what was about to happen in that tiny home.
To which I said, do you want to play Let's Guess What I Said?
Sure.
Do you remember what I said when the mom wasn't psyched about them moving into a tiny house?
Surprise, surprise.
No.
No?
I wouldn't not say that.
Yeah.
Close. Hey Mom, if you've got such a problem with your kids moving into a tiny house, buy them a house. How privileged is your life where you're like, the house that you're having custom built for you and your family on television isn't big enough.
The mother's disappointment that they had to go on television to afford a tiny house.
Yeah. I bet it was the same as when Rebecca with an H was like, I'm marrying a musician
100%.
and a hat, and we're going to wear hats at the wedding.
100%.
Everybody gets a hat. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah.
Do you have any other things to say?
Let's just give the mom a hat.
Give the mom a hat. Hey, everyone. Give the mom a hat.
I like how like the
Big enough to put over her eyes so she doesn't have to see this fucking house.
I love that the contractors were like, all right, Mom, take the kids and go back to the hotel. Here you go.
Yeah. So get the kids out of here.
We've got a lot of work. Yeah, we've got a lot of work to do here.
There is, I guess, a huge beef, not unlike in the comedy community, between improv performers and stand-up performers. There's a huge beef between a mobile home and a tiny house. Did you know that going into this?
No.
Did you ever care about that?
No. No.
So at one point, I think the mom was like, they're moving into a goddamn mobile home. First of all, no disrespect. Second of all, what?
The producer or the hosts of the show were like, it's not.
Yeah, they were like, it's not a mobile home. but also
Dare
it
you.
kind of is.
Absolutely.
What's
you
the
can
difference?
Move it.
It doesn't
It's
move?
a mobile home.
Yeah, you know what will move your tiny home? Wind. Tornado. And they're moving to Nashville, so it's something they don't have a fucking basement to get in
No.
case another tornado hits.
Tornado.
I'm sure it's safe. Marianne doesn't love it, but who gives a fuck?
Marianne is mom.
Yep. Let's not forget, she's married to the skipper. Or the professor, whoever the fuck Marianne was.
Whatever.
Bit of a sliz. It's not the house's fault. It's not grandchild friendly.
It is not.
It's the parents' fault
Yes.
that the home isn't grandchild friendly.
100%.
So don't hate on the box, which we could all agree is beautiful.
Yeah.
But is filled with too much unnecessary shit like hats.
And a baby grand piano. Piano.
Yeah. Baby grand panano.
Pananos.
Baby panano. Squat, squat, squat. This show makes these two people look
awful.
Selfish AF.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're not, but you learn about somebody in 22 minutes. This
There you
is
go.
the conclusions you're going to jump to. The house is almost done and it's beautiful. The camera lens they use to explore the inside is so fucking wide. Do you think I don't know that shit? They're using a 2mm camera to show you the inside of this shoebox.
And it makes it look so much bigger than it actually is.
Don't try to pretend the house isn't tiny.
Yeah.
The show is called Tiny House.
Right. You don't need to be facetious to the audience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have here cringe moment. Time to talk about the animal in the room or the piano in the storage container.
That no one can lift.
I believe this is in quotes. So I believe the exact quote from the show was time to talk about the animal in the room. Did they not want to say elephant because they're on Tiny House? And there's no way they could fit an elephant in here.
Maybe.
So Ben is like, I paid to ship this baby grand piano all the way from LA to Nashville. It has to go in the house.
In a pod, though. You paid a pod to move your baby grand piano that you're so worried about.
The piano is
Yes,
also,
that's judgment in my voice.
That's okay. Hey, that's okay because it's a show and we're supposed to have opinions. You know, you're supposed to have opinions about these people because reality shows are built to make you feel things.
Yes.
The piano's also on its side in the storage container.
Yeah.
And then I actually went on the internet to be like, can you even put a piano in a pod? And the internet says yes.
Yes.
And he talks about how much he paid to do it, which I'm sure he meant insurance. So you could pay for it's okay if your piano gets broken. Which it looks like he was planning for. He's like, maybe if it gets broken, we could, I can get a brand new Selfish thing.
Yes.
So,
Maybe just a regular size piano.
to keep outside in the rain. Speaking of outside, they have so much land
So the most.
and so many hats.
Maybe okay, let's give these guys the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're living in that tiny house and they're going to use it as like an in-law setup later on in life,
Like
and to build onto this double plot land that they have.
Like when a foreman at a construction site has that mobile home
Yeah.
while they build a skyscraper behind them.
Yeah, or like when you're on set and you're in the mobile homes on set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
in
think
the dressing rooms?
everyone on set, do you think anyone on set, like the production crew or the contractors or the hosts, had a trailer on set that was bigger than the tiny house?
Maybe. Depending on who you are.
Questions we'll never know the answer to.
Call J-Lo. Ask her.
It's done, and it's J-Lo has a huge trailer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for anyone laughing their ass off at that last line. It's done, and it's honestly beautiful.
It really was. That kitchen was so cute.
Zoya says, mudslides.
Yeah, man, what happens like when it rains? No, like not mudslides, but that shit's gonna move if it rains too much.
Yeah, no,
It's
I know
on
what
just
you
like a slab of grafts.
graphs. It's honestly they propped it up.
You know them grafts?
They only had 3 pillars and they had a bunch of graph paper and they slid it under like a wobbly coffee
grafts.
table. But no, you bring up a good point, Zoe. It's
Thank
only
you.
like a foot and a half off the ground, so it rains, it floods, it snows.
Yeah.
Nashville, baby. And I said cold in winter because none of it looks isolated, insulated. It all looks isolated as fuck.
It was isolated by
It does look like you put a Monopoly house. You just threw it into the middle of your yard,
Yeah.
like a Pauline.
yeah.
If you're playing a bocce ball.
It looks like what it could have gone in your parents' backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have moved into Mary Ann's backyard.
There you go.
Maybe she's upset that it's location.
Maybe.
So the couple is taking the tour through the house and they're like, hotels have been ruined for us.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
when
I
they're in
still
the
don't
bathroom.
really understand.
Yeah, so when they're in the bathroom, their bathroom is very nice, right?
Yeah.
It is the size of a small coat closet, but it is very nice. And they were like, hotels are forever going to be ruined for us.
Hotels and the outside have been ruined for us with how beautiful the house is.
Yeah.
Okay, so the hosts are showing them around and showing them all the tiny things that that they have. Functionality is out of control.
Yeah.
Okay. And the best part of the show is actually the host going around and showing the couple how everything works.
Yeah.
This is your tiny fold-out sink. This is where your dreams get to stay, Rebecca, under a bed. Here's all the things out in the open that Ben
Gets to have forever
needs.
and ever. Here is your storage space that also turns into Ben's writing and creative space so that nobody can walk around in their tiny house.
And if you throw Rebecca's sewing machine against the wall, it turns into a microphone for Ben.
And don't forget, you have 2 kids, and we did put in this little ballet bar and fold-out mirror for
I
them.
think we're getting to that part. I don't have it in my notes yet, which means that has to be the grand finale.
Oh.
This is
Sorry.
my favorite
Spoiler.
part. No, it's perfectly fine.
Spoiler alert.
Just forget you heard it. When the hosts are showing them around, my favorite part is how close the hosts have to be to the couple.
Oh, yeah. Or how they can't even stand in the upstairs part of, because yes, kids, there is an upstairs.
And it's the most, if you've ever heard somebody say technically,
Yeah.
that's the most useful situation to use this tone of voice in.
There's stairs.
Technically, there are stairs and an upstairs in the house.
There's stairs. And no one can stand straight up
No,
there.
It's not for being comfortable.
And their kids share the same room. There's 2 beds
yeah.
side by side.
Which is going to be awesome for the girls for another 3 years.
Dude,
One of them is very tiny, and then
Yeah.
one of them is
like 5.
teenager adjacent.
Yeah.
So she's going to be 5-6 years. She's going to be like, get me the fuck out of this
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Or
close.
less.
Too close.
Zach,
And the girls have to share a bed.
a bed? One bed?
Yeah. I mean, I shared a bed with my siblings
Until
forever.
when? Yeah, but you're foreign.
Yeah. Yes.
Until when? You're in your 20s?
No, I shared a room with Vyolta until I was in my 20s.
A room, not a bed, though.
But Teresia and Vyolta shared a bed for a while. Teresia was probably, I don't know.
It's a whole
There
huge
was
conversation.
4 girls.
I'm not
There was
getting the
4
answer.
girls in one room, and we had I had my own twin size bed, and then we had bunk beds. But the bottom bunk was like a really big bed, like almost a queen size bed, a full size bed. And Vyolta and Teresia slept in that, and then Violet slept in the top bunk.
Picture 2 of your sisters in the same bed.
Yeah.
How old are they?
Vielza was probably 10.
Uh-huh.
Tedesio was maybe 5.
Okay, so
Not even?
almost exactly.
Not even 5. But then
When did that stop? Or when did it become intolerable?
I don't
Instantly?
know, we would still sleep
You
in
wanna
the
phone a
same bed
friend?
now.
You're not being helpful to my line of questioning at all.
I'm sorry. Keep going. Keep
Do you
going.
want to call your sister
No.
and ask her when she
Everyone's
stops?
working.
Okay, great. Zach, social distancing. Zach, who I believe is one of the hosts, is very uncomfortable around kids.
Yes. They're both uncomfortable around kids. I don't think either of them know, unless they have their own, around other people's kids. They were trying, but no avail did they win those girls over at all.
Until, and this is kind of the last thing we have to cover here, they introduce a pull-out line of mirrors and a fold-down ballet bar
Yep.
to simulate the ballet environment experience.
Cute. Bless you.
And the ballet bar is so tiny.
The tiniest.
It's built for a tiny person.
Yep.
And I don't understand. That is the most just for this show thing that you could have.
Yes.
In a tiny house filled with almost nothing, functionality only,
Yeah.
you're going to have a ballet studio.
Yeah.
And the bar is good for somebody who is 4 feet or under.
Yeah. So they're only going to be able to use this for a year.
And then it's
If that.
there
Yeah.
forever. I guess you
But
could.
then, of course, if Ben is creating, then the girls cannot create.
No, they can create outside.
Yes.
You can create a rain dance
Yep.
outside. But what
Or-
we didn't see in the show is the bar unfolds into a living area,
Yep.
an area rug. Fuck, man. So
And
what
then
were
at the very end, the girl was like, "Will you play with me?" And they finally won her over.
Yeah. It was great that the last 2 minutes of the show were dedicated to the kids.
Yeah.
What are your overall thoughts? Would you ever do this? What would it take for you to get into a tiny house with me for the rest of our natural lives?
If we never ever had kids and it was absolutely necessary. Olin Rogers is calling you right now.
He is.
Do you want to answer that?
I'm going to answer it.
I don't know that I could
Hey,
ever.
Olin?
Oh.
Oh, so much echo. I need to tell you for legal purposes that I'm recording a podcast with Zoya and you're currently on the podcast.
Hey, Olin.
Olin, have you ever seen the show Tiny House?
Seen what?
Have you ever seen the show Tiny House?
No.
Are you familiar with the concept of a tiny house?
Yeah.
Would you ever live in a tiny house for any reason?
I think so.
Okay. With 2 children.
It's possible.
With 2 children, a baby grand piano, and 30 hats.
That's not possible.
Yes, that's kind of what we've been talking about for the past 43 minutes. I'll call you back right after this. I love you very much. I hope
Okay,
you're
cool.
socially distancing.
Okay, hugs and kisses. Bye.
Olin Stuenke says hi.
That's so cute. Hugs and kisses to you too, Olin. I was dancing. So needless to say, no, I probably would not unless something crazy happened and we didn't have a choice.
What, like a pandemic?
Yes. Me possibly being out of work for the next 8 months.
Yeah, you might have to build a tiny house within the apartment.
Yep.
And then you would be like, well, we don't live in the apartment. We don't have to pay rent anymore. Our house happens to be here.
I'm just gonna start squatting.
You kind of are.
Yep.
You're squatting in my apartment.
Not yet. I still have money for the next 2 months of rent.
No, I got you, baby girl. It's us. Us, not us. Me, not us. Us, not me. What's Bernie Sanders's?
I don't know.
Us. This is important for us.
That was pretty good.